What's up, everybody? Welcome to a special edition of Talking Elite Fitness. This is not the last episode. That has been recorded, but it's just a thing. Like Tommy, whenever we have Mars and Heber on, we just have to something happens, and then we have to re-record, and we figured, this is worth talking about. So Sean Woodland, Tommy Marquez. Tommy, how you doing tonight? I know you're packing for a big trip to London, so I appreciate you hopping on.
Yeah, I know. It's it's twofold, right? When Mars and Heber come on, there's always a re-recording. Also, I feel like the big news always drops at very weird. Mm-hmm. Big news comes across our bow at very interesting times where we're moving and shaking, and it requires some flexibility and usually hopping on at some random time of the day to talk about.
So it's Tuesday night, April the 27th here on the West Coast in California. The reason we're recording tonight is because this information was given to us in confidence. We're not releasing this until it's actually out publicly. So by the time you listen to this, it could be a couple days from now, but we wanted to make sure that we talked about it. And that is the news that CrossFit now has a new CEO. And it is someone, Tommy, that both you and I are very familiar with. His name is Bruce Edwards. He was the CEO of CrossFit from 2015 to 2019, I believe. Mm-hmm. I think he's run an affiliate or co-owned an affiliate in Aptos, which is, for those of you that don't know, California geography is just south of Santa Cruz. And if that's still too vague, Santa Cruz is like in the central coast, then just go a little bit south, and that's Aptos. And I think most importantly, just a genuinely good human being. I'm really excited about this choice. I think he is absolutely the right man for the job. And I know that he has been doing a lot of listening to a lot of people. And so he's started off on the right foot in my book, but I think this is a great choice. I'm excited about this.
I'm in lockstep with you here. Like, I was, really for a long time trying to kind of wrap my head around someone who can genuinely lead the company in a way that needs to be led, not just from, there's like we'll call it the spiritual aspect, right? You need to, have a firm grasp of the methodology and what makes CrossFit what it is, and all of the rally the troops kind of stuff. But there's also like a heavy unspoken, unseen financial and operational element to the company that I think has been not necessarily a pitfall, but it's been a really tough nut to crack for a lot of people that jump into this business or in this ecosystem to trying to fly and operate at a very high level that they struggle with. And I mean, we've seen the leadership changes happen frequently in the C-suite at CrossFit in recent years. We've seen, a lot of companies, big investors come and go, brands not really understand it, leave. And so it was really kind of a tough scenario for me to envision someone that could step in and has the experience, and that in many ways has figured out from an operational standpoint or cracked the code before. And Bruce is actually that guy. He has been around. I mean, he first started working at CrossFit over a decade ago. He's been involved at every level. He co-founded CrossFit Aptos, which is the affiliate that neighbors the gym that I go to. Is just down the road in Aptos. I have friends. I have really close people that I know that go to that gym. I know people that have purchased that gym. Actually, a friend of mine and her was part of the most recent ownership group that recently sold. And he's been a member at that gym ever since. He has a high level experience at a multitude of companies, and I think specifically how he has navigated CrossFit through very crucial times in the company's history sets him up very well to be successful here. It feels like NFL draft is very much at the forefront of the mind right now. It's like, we can't guarantee the outcome, right? But we could look at what's on tape. We can look at the measurables, and then we can project from there.
Yeah.
And Bruce has it, right? Like, He's a great dude too. He's someone that's always been, at least from a leadership standpoint, always had an open door, has always been really open to feedback and listening, and has been very interactive in a positive way, especially when we were there. And yeah, we can talk about it if you want, but like the specifics around some of his history with CrossFit, like financially make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in 1 second. And I think too, what people need to understand is that he has experience in private equity and fitness. So he speaks that language. He understands that side of things. And like you just so eloquently just laid out, understands CrossFit and was there during the, quote unquote golden years, during the huge growth years. Not that that's something that we can duplicate, but he has a good area of like a mix of knowledge here. Like he has all the pieces that you would want for someone coming in. If this wasn't driven, like if private equity didn't own this, you could probably go and get somebody else. I think maybe the candidate pool opens up a little bit more, but the fact that he has lived in both of those worlds, CrossFit and private equity, I think makes him the perfect guy. Like where I gained respect for Bruce is when he came in 2015. And it was right around that time, I think we had our very first round of layoffs, because it was after that we had to pay back that big loan that was taken out to help solidify prevent the sale the first time to that Anthos Capital. Right. And there was a round of layoffs. And I remember Bruce stood up there in front of everybody after it was said and done and laid out exactly why it happened, why they did it, what they felt like the plan was moving forward. And then took some pretty tough questions from people. And I remember I asked him a pretty direct one about like, is this it for the time? And he answered it very directly. He's like, we are hoping so. Yes. And was very, honest about like, we got to kind of leave the door open to figure out what's going on. But when you get that kind of honesty in that setting, and I didn't feel like the guy was BSing me at all, and never did throughout I just never got that sense from him when he was there. And I just had a lot of respect for him. And when I heard, late last year, that he was actually in the running for this, I was like, this is a really good, solid choice. Now he has his work cut out for him and is going to have to make, I think, some very tough decisions, but I think he's the guy to do it.
Yeah. And I maybe this is a lost art, but he handles these difficult situations with a level of like professionalism and grace, I think, with people and honesty that I think a lot of people aren't used to in this kind of ruthless business world that we see. Going back to what you said, yeah. So like in around 2014, obviously Greg and Lauren Glassman split. There was the issue of like, okay, well, Lauren has half of the company. What's going to happen? Lauren was talking with Anthos Capital about selling her half to that. There was a lot of weird and dicey and complicated scenarios around that. But what ultimately transpired is that Greg as an entity, as an owner of CrossFit, was given kind of like right of first refusal, essentially, to buy the other half of the company off of Lauren. That ultimately prevented Anthos Capital from buying that half of CrossFit. And what kind of came out of the weeds from that is that they were kind of planning on like kind of overhauling and gutting CrossFit in a not great way. So as part of that, when Greg was able to buy the company as a whole and own it outright, that required taking on a significant loan to pay out Lauren. Obviously, like through connections and stuff, we're able to get really good loan terms on that. But what also required is a little bit more strict financial bookkeeping in order to make sure that the loan could be paid off in a timely manner and handled accordingly, and that the company was in really good financial health. Because at this point, from 2011 to 2014, in this like the first Reebok years and like the explosive growth of the sport, and what we'll also call the Froning and Annie T years, where like they really took off. money was just being lit on fire.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, it was.
And it wasn't just the games.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think the games would get a bad rap sometimes, but there was wasteful and excess spending at all levels of the company. And Bruce was basically brought in to get the company back on track financially, evaluate all of the expenditures, evaluate everything that was coming in and going out, and make sure that the health of the company financially was set up to both pay back this loan and situate themselves accordingly for any major decisions moving forward.
Yeah.
That's when the first round of layoffs came up. That's when kind of people got their introduction to Bruce, but he was like right there at the forefront the entire time. Like, if you want to talk to me, if you have questions, uncertainties, be there. And most importantly, he's based in Santa Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
So he was there at the office, on a daily basis, and a part of the office culture in those moments to like kind of lead from the front, which means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, a lot of changes were made in how the company operated, and the company as a whole got put in a much, much better financial spot. A lot of stuff, a lot of fat got trimmed, a lot of things got shifted in how we operated, and Bruce had a huge hand in that.
Yeah.
What's interesting is I think that he kind of did his job so well that at some point we kind of got back to this really nice cruising altitude as a company where maybe some of the old habits on spending and stuff started to go a little bit. And, him having to kind of, I believe he was originally brought on as kind of a CFO type, COO kind of hybrid, right? Because he was evaluating the financial side and the operations side, but he moved more towards COO and the operations once the financial health of the company was in a good spot. And then he kind of got pushed out, like around that time when the company was changing and axes were being swung and people were making like very heavy-handed decisions on what was going to happen. He kind of got pushed out. He was one of the C-suite executives that it felt like maybe he wasn't included in the inner circle anymore, and kind of got wedged out. And for him, I mean, he's got plenty of experience. He was a high level, I think he was an executive vice president for West Marine, which is a huge company. Also has a huge presence here in Santa Cruz on the West Coast. He ended up working for one of the big franchisees for, I think, Planet Fitness.
It was like that bar. He
Bar
was
3, he was at Bar 3, and then like Encore.
Yeah. So this is off his LinkedIn. So the most recent title he's had is from May 2023 to present. He's Chief Executive Officer for Core Development and Management, leading franchisee in the Planet Fitness Network. There you go. President and Chief Operating Officer for Bar 3, co-founder, owner, and coach at CrossFit Aptos, Chief Operating Officer for CrossFit from October 2013 to September 2019. And then he was the Executive Vice President, Stores, E-commerce, West Marine Pro. So he's, the guy's got the bona fides. And here's the thing too. He's a genuinely good human being.
Yes, like absolutely.
A great person. And that's not that, you can be a jerk and be really good at your job, but he's a really good human being. And he has been listening and engaging with the right people. Like if you gave me a list of people, it's like, hey, who do I have to have on board in order to like move this thing forward? That he's gone through that list. Like, I'm like, yep, that's absolutely that person. Yep. Them for sure. That person. Absolutely. And he's listening to a lot of people. And I spoke to someone who sat down with him, who's pretty big in the community, on Tuesday. No, what's today? Today's Tuesday. Sorry, Monday. And said that he did a lot of listening. Like he showed up and he did a lot of listening, which is what you want to hear. So, I mean, I think that he's dedicated to we're not going to get back to where we were 2016, like that's not going to happen. But I think he is dedicated to looking at what was successful during those years and trying to see like, okay, how can we take that now and apply it to where we are in our current situation, maybe execute it a little bit differently, but how do we do something similar to get us, like you mentioned, back on track?
Yeah.
Like there will be a plan here. Like this is not going to be, a fly by night type of thing with him.
Yeah, and I mean he's done it before. Like I said, CrossFit was very fortunate that in the 2014 time that they basically anything they did was successful and was growing. But he identified some very real issues on projections and out forecasts as far as spending and income, and was able to make it so not only like did the company's financial health get extremely better. I believe they were able to actually like pay off the loan sooner than expected,
Probably.
and expedite that process, which was a huge boost. And like you said, the human side of it, right? Because like with CrossFit, there's the human element as far as like what are we doing in affiliates, and the interpersonal relationships and community relationships we're building on a daily basis. That he is built from founding and owning an affiliate. He has shown to us individual and as a group, because even after we got laid off, he was very active with us in terms of like making himself available. We chatted with him a few times just to bounce ideas and talk to him, like just catching up, because he was local to Santa Cruz and he was just genuinely interested. Like, hey man, like I know you're still around. It'd be good to catch up and just see how life is going. And Bruce is a good dude. I'm excited to see what he can do. You know, like I said, there's no guarantees, right?
No.
And as far as we know, the playbook for what the ownership group and the private equity has for him could look vastly different than anything he's experienced, at least within the fitness realm or with CrossFit specifically. But I do think that he has proven himself on enough fronts to be able to kind of maybe shuck and jive a little bit and roll some punches, and hopefully, come to a solution that, previous leadership wasn't able to.
Yeah. And I think, you mentioned it, that there are obviously, two parts, really main parts to the business, the affiliate side, and then there's the sports side. And I know he's very interested in both. So it's not like he understands both of them.
Yeah.
It's not like he's somebody who's coming in and it's like, well, yeah, what we ought to do is we ought to have competition for people 40 years and older. It's like, yeah, well, we have that. Like he understands how things work. He understands games history. Yeah. He knows where it was. He knows, like he gets all of that. So I don't know how like quickly he is going to be up to speed. I imagine it will be very fast, knowing him. And then it's a matter of, okay, like what things does he start doing? I don't know where he starts, whether it's affiliate side of things, which probably will be, since that is the foundation of the business. And games is sort of like set right now. Like there's really not much you can do with the sports side, at least until after July or August when the games are done. There's really nothing you can change, which gives him some runway to deal with that. So I'm guessing that they're going to come in and just start dealing with the core business side of the business.
Yeah, I mean, listed affiliates right now on .com are under 10K. It's it's hard to. I don't know the exact numbers of where like training and education are at right now, but numbers across the board have been down and fluctuate in a slightly negative trend. So there's a lot of things for him to address, and I trust in his ability to parse and triage accordingly.
Yeah. So we will see, but I think this is the absolute, like, this is a home run. This is, to go back to your NFL draft analogy, this is the pick where, like, this is A+, you nailed it. And I know that you're drafting based on potential and what you think can happen. But I
didn't even think about that. Like, this feels like, I'll stick with the analogy. The last couple of years when the Ravens have drafted in the first round and they've picked that, like, Kyle Hamilton, like a safety, and you're like, oh God, like that's a slam dunk. Like that guy is a Raven. He's he's going to look good in purple and black. He's going to be stout on the defense, and on a night game in Pittsburgh, he's going to bring it. And like that, like, why didn't we think of that? That's kind of how I feel right now. Cause like, maybe because I feel like in some capacity, like if you have an unceremonious exit from CrossFit, at least in the past era, that kind of means you were done. Like you excommunicated in many ways. And that's kind of like how the company operated. So maybe that's why it wasn't on the forefront.
I think that's a really good point, and I think that shows like how passionate he is for this. Like, I have always thought like to make this really work. Whether it's a new owner, which I don't think that's on the horizon anymore, because I don't think he would take this job if he knew that in 3 months he's going to be out. I don't think he would do. Maybe he would. I don't know. But like, you need someone, regardless of who it is. You need someone to come in there who's either your CEO, the face, or whatever, who the community knows and trusts, or is at least from the community. And that's like, and I'll go back to the whole Eric Rosa thing. Like, everyone was excited about that because he was from inside the community. Now, there were things that I don't think people fully understood about that purchase. I was one of them.
Yeah.
I'll own that. But you at least you said, hey, this guy's from the community. He's been an affiliate owner. Like, it's just such a unique business that I think that you need someone who has experience in this realm, but also has some like business acumen from outside the ecosystem, which he definitely has in spades.
So. Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Yeah, and it's, I don't know, maybe it's just me have, the nostalgic and kind of romantic side, but like a Santa Cruz native, it's where it was founded.
Yeah. And he still has a relationship with Greg.
Yeah.
From what I understand. Yeah. I hope I'm not misspeaking on that, but that's from what I understand, they still talk. So,
cool.
It's it really does. Like, you found the unicorn, but I think that you bring up a good point too, is that it's not like he comes in and has absolute power. He's going to have to deal with a board, but he has experience doing all this. And I think he's a guy that can come in there with a plan and say, look, here's what I want to do. Here's why I want to do it. Here's why, this is what I've learned from working in this business in the past. Because that's, I think, one thing that the board and whoever is on, is running this thing lacks. They don't have, like, they all came into this thing fresh. And I think that now Bruce can kind of bridge that. And I'm excited. I'm really, this has been like the first dose of, good news in a while. So I think it's we shall see, but we wanted to just get on and give our thoughts about it just because of, we've worked with him, we know him, and, take that for what you will. So, all right. Do we have any, do we have a couple community support things we need to get to before we check out and let you get ready for your trip?
Yeah, definitely. So when we recorded the actual, last episode, a couple of community support pieces came in after the fact, and I wanted to make sure we hit them. One is from our good friend of the show, Haley Queller. She's hosting a competition called Do It for David 4 on Sunday, June 14th. It's from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. There's a $40 minimum donation, and it supports the Parent Project Muscular Dystrophy. There'll be 3 stations, 90 minutes total, all levels, men and women. There's raffles, prizes, swag bags. And you get to support a great cause. It is at RxFit, 73 Broadway, Rocky Point. You can contact rxfitli@gmail.com, or you can call 631-617-8949 and ask Ashton for questions if you're in the area. So definitely go check that out. It's a annual fundraiser. And then another one is called Hallie's Hideaway fundraising. This comes from a handful of friends in the community, but this is called Operation Neptune 2, which is a row from Southampton to Normandy. So it's in support of Hallie's Hideaway, which, hold on, I have it here, which provides families with children facing childhood cancer and other life-threatening illnesses a UK holiday home for precious time away from home and hospital. The key thing around this is that, a short break away from all of the usual routine of checkups and treatment and all that stuff can really allow the family and the kids to kind of relax, recharge, and reconnect a little bit. And so what they're doing is in June 2026, they'll take on an extreme endurance challenge, rowing over 100 nautical miles from Southampton to Normandy in an R45 ocean rowing boat. It's not just a physical test, it's a world record attempt and a mission driven by purpose. Their 4-man team comes from military and emergency service backgrounds, bringing resilience, discipline, teamwork to one of the busiest and most demanding stretches of water in the world. They will row in continuous shifts, battling fatigue, tides, shipping traffic, unpredictable conditions to safely reach the shores of Normandy. But this challenge is more than just the row. They're aiming to raise 10,000 pounds for Hallie's Hideaway, a charity, like I said, that provides respite breaks for children with life-limiting conditions and their families. And they really just want to raise some money to try and give those families the precious time, support, and memories when they need it the most. If you want, every mile that they row is driven by that purpose. So if you want to support it and this journey, you can go to justgiving.com, look up Hallie's Hideaway Fundraising. Hallie is spelled Hallie. And the fundraiser is organized by Jacob Coyle. And so the fundraiser is ongoing right now. They're getting close to halfway towards their goal, and let's try and get them the rest of the way before the beginning of June when they're going to row 100 nautical miles.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing that. Okay. Well, don't know when this is going to be out. Again, I was told that this announcement is going to be made on Tuesday, April the 28th. And so hopefully you're listening to that then, but we shall see. So going to hang on to this until we're not spilling any beans. We're not going to release this until it's out there officially. But congratulations to Bruce. Really looking forward to seeing what he does. I think he's the right guy for the job. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for tonight. Tommy, have safe travels. For Tommy Marquez, I'm Sean Woodland. Take care of each other. Be better. We'll talk to you guys next time.
1, 2, 3, go! Like a kiss at the start of a first date. If it's good, I don't want to wait. When the feeling's right, I'm taking everything.